We are live. Yes, we are. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our, what do we call this? Do we have a name for this? This is, do you know, we don't,
Live
do
with
we?
Rosemary.
Live with Rosemary. Welcome to Live with Rosemary. We should give us a name. If you can think of a name that we could use for this channel, all of you out there watching, please, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. We don't care how inundated we are with ideas, but we'd love to have them. All I can think of off the top of my head is Live with Rosemary. Al, can you think of anything?
Well, it's currently called Rosemary Altea, the Spirit World Sees All.
Oh, okay. So that's what it's currently known as then. All right. So first, before we begin, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing right to my right, excuse me, to my right side. Then we did have my puppy, who has now decided to wander around the place. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want him to be disturbed. To my far right, we have Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
And of course, we are joined by my wonderful friend, Al Pisano. Say good morning, Al from Colorado.
Good morning, everyone.
So this is the show where we take your live questions, we tell our little stories, we do all sorts of things on this show, don't we? We don't really have a format. You know, it is funny thinking about that. I just want to say that, so many times when I record things, for instance, when I've recorded my meditation CDs, or when I've recorded shows, if I go to workshops or what have you, I really rarely, I don't have a script. And I can remember we have a fantastic CD with a good friend and a patient of mine, Bob, and we called him Bob the Builder because he was a builder. And Bob was such an inspirational guy. He had a tumor on his brain, and he sort of went through all sorts of issues with his cancer before he finally passed. But prior to his passing, he was such an inspiration to us all that I asked him if he would, meet me to record a DVD, an interview. I wanted to interview him. And so I picked him up. He was probably, it was just a few months before he passed, actually. I picked him up this morning. We drove to the studio, and on the way there, he said to me, so you haven't given me a script. And I looked at him, I said, no, I haven't. And he said, well, and I need to know what to say. I need a script, don't I? And I said, no, we're going to just, without a script, I'm going to interview you, and you can answer me any way you like. You can, give me your answers. If you don't like the question, tell me you don't want to answer that question. Just, we're going to do it off the cuff. And I find that all of these shows, and wherever I am and whatever I do, I never plan. Of course, the spirit world plans. We know that they plan, but they don't necessarily plan what I'm going to say, but they do plan the people in the spirit world who are going to be there, who have a chance at connecting with their loved ones in the audiences. Of course, that side of things is planned, but I never plan this. And it was so weird because I started the interview with Bob, and I shouldn't say it was so weird because it makes me smile. It was so perfect, really. We started the interview, and eventually we stopped the interview. We had no idea how long we were going for. And the recording guy was, a bit nervous because he said, you might have gone over, Rosemary, so you might have to come back and see if we need to cut anything or not. So I said, okay. But to my own self, I thought, I bet we don't have to cut it. Well, we were sort of something like within 30 seconds of our time was up, and we didn't have to cut the conversation. It's called the CD. If anybody wants to know about it, it's called the CD is called A Conversation with Bob. And we give it out to hospitals. People in hospitals buy it for their people who are dying. We've given it to hospice centers. It's the perfect thing if you're not sure if you know someone who is dying, or this person themselves it's the perfect thing, because we're talking to Bob, who knew that he was dying, and he knew that he didn't have long to live. And his questions and his advice and his inspirational thoughts are just tremendous. I don't know why I'm gone off on that one, but anyway, do we have any questions? I better stop talking, because I know there are a lot of people out there who say, come on, stop talking, because we want to get our questions answered. So Al, why don't you begin? Do we have anyone out there? Are there any questions yet?
There's a couple updates. Starshine says, good morning, Carol and Rosemary Gray Eagle. I just want to say that and let you know her surgery went well.
Great.
So she sends much love.
Good.
Lori says, good morning. Thank you for the answer. Thank you for the answer a couple weeks ago. Ari DeLynne's friend, apparently I mispronounced her name as DeLynne. And when she watched it, only her grandma ever did that. So she thinks her grandma maybe mispronounced it.
Could be.
And then we have a question from Linda.
Good morning, Linda.
She says, if someone deceased does not come through in a reading, can that sometimes mean they have no issues with us?
Well, yes, it can be, but usually our loved ones in the spirit world, they do want to come through, and they do want to talk to us, even if it's to say hello. It's, I don't just talk to people in the spirit world because there's an issue or problem. Sometimes it's just, hi, I miss you, and I'm watching you, and people in the spirit world do want us to know. They want to let us know that they, that they're happy with us and for us, and just to let us know that they're around us often. Very often, I mean, I can speak for myself too. Sometimes, when I'm talking to people in the spirit world, there could be so many people there that that one person might not be able to get through the first time because there are too many other people talking and chattering. My advice is, if you go to see someone like me, just think about that person and put out a little word to God and say we'd like to talk to that person. That doesn't always work, but I always ask people, who is it, before I begin, who is it that you would like to talk to? And I don't want details. I'm not asking, oh, my mother who died of cancer, or my father who had a heart attack. All I want from people, which I'm very clear, I say it very clearly, just no guarantees, but, is there any one specific person that you'd like to talk to? It doesn't guarantee we're going to talk to them, but it gives me a heads up to look for that person. But I specifically said, I don't want to know anything about them. I don't want to know how they passed, anything at all, but mother, father, brother, sister, so on. It just gives me an opportunity to search for that person a little bit and look a little bit closer, or to say to Grey Eagle, is that person there? Can we bring that person forward? Sometimes people are so shy, they don't quite know, they're especially if you can, sometimes happens, you get someone who just does all the talking and overrides everybody else. Someone with a strong personality can do that. But my experience is that, it's not that they don't have any issues, and it's because they don't need any to say hello to you. And it's not that they don't want to. It's usually, it's my fault usually if I'm not listening properly, or if I'm not paying close enough attention, and so on. So don't give up. And if you have a good medium, if you have somebody who is good and has given you really clear evidence of their abilities, then just stick with it. And that person will, if you want them to, will eventually make it through. Carolyn.
Kanji wrote in and asked.
Who?
Kanji.
Okay. Kanji. It's a new one.
I saw you on the Oprah show. I was searching information on schizophrenia. My mate struggles with schizophrenia in the form of religious psychosis, and I wonder if you have any reference as to what is really going on with people who suffer from this mental disorder. Is it a spiritual battle, or is it a chemical imbalance? Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a very interesting question. I think it can be a bit of both, actually. Now, my grandmother suffered with this same debilitating, I don't know if it's a disease, if you can call it a disease, I suppose so. She heard voices. To my knowledge, I'm not sure that she saw anyone in the spirit world, but she certainly heard voices all the time, which, because she didn't understand them, eventually would drive her crazy. And she was a voluntary patient in a psychiatric hospital. Of course, all those years ago, you know, I'm a very old lady, so my grandmother would be really, really, really old by now. But in those days, they didn't have the drugs that they have today. They didn't have the medicines, and they didn't understand about neurosis, psychotic episodes and so on. They didn't really understand the way that we do understand today. But I think that, you know, very often it can be a chemical imbalance. But because it's a chemical imbalance, that can also make a person much more sensitive and much more aware of things that are going on beyond or outside of themselves. So it can have a, you know, the one can have a twofold effect. The Native Americans, it's good to point out at this stage also, the Native Americans used to go into the sweat lodges, and they would take, you know, we wouldn't like say drugs, would we? They'd take all kind of hallucinatory drugs. They'd smoke, you know, all sorts of stuff to create that that state of mind, which can help to raise your level of consciousness so that you're able to see more and to be aware more of what is going out there. Just because it's a hallucinatory thing does not necessarily mean that it's not real. Sometimes it isn't real, but sometimes it actually is, because certain drugs can help. I'm not going to recommend that you take them, and I certainly don't, but they can help to raise your level of consciousness to a point where you become much more aware and much more able to connect with those outside forces. So, you know, if someone is psychotic or has psychotic episodes, as your friend does, then it could be that the chemical imbalance, physically chemical imbalance. It could be that they are able to sense more, to see more. It could be that the drugs enable them to do this. So there's, you know, and without knowing, I'm not, you know, not going to diagnose a situation, but certainly all of those things combined together can create a bit of a mess in some ways. Do you have any comments there, Al?
No, just that, I guess, yes, sensitivity. I know with myself, sometimes sensitivity it does open the door for thinking you're crazy sometimes,
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger and you first start going through it. I don't experience it as you do, but I'm sensitive, and I did feel like I was kind of off a little bit for a while of my life.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, it's, and I think each case should be taken on its own merits. And I think, you know, the clue to making sure that people are safe in this environment, if they have these issues, is to find them someone who is really able to look beyond, you know, outside of the box, and to take in every possibility. Because we do know, don't we, that the prisons years ago, sorry, not the prisons, the what we used to call them insane asylums, were filled to the brim with people who were not actually insane at all. People like myself. I mean, had I been born in another era, in another age, I probably would have been one of those, certainly locked up. I can remember once having a few years ago, having a breakdown and being in the hospital. And I can remember sort of coming to, listening to this doctor asking me all of these questions. And the questions were, you know, how long have you been seeing things? How long have you been hearing these voices? And sort of reminiscences of stories of my grandmother came to mind. And I actually signed myself out of that hospital. It made me a bit nervous that he was going to put me on ward 21, and ward 21 was the, you know, where the people went who were suffering, supposedly with all sorts of emotional and psychiatric illnesses. Carolyn, let's have a question. Yes.
To Al.
Oh, to Al.
I just read that one.
Oh, so sorry. Al. Sorry,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Sorry. Al, come on.
Yeah, you're the boss. Whoever you want to go next is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, exactly. Hey, Carolyn, come on. You weren't ready for me, were you?
No, they have them. It's just,
I just want to point out to people that Al is at Starbucks because you had to have your oil change this morning, right, Al? So he hopped
Correct.
through to get to Starbucks. So if you hear sort of teacups clanking in the background and so on, I always say to people, we are a live show and it makes it a lot of fun. So Al, let me have your question.
And some background music as well.
And background music as well. Somebody just cranked straight down there, right?
So Leo has a comment and a question. He says, as I'm watching you, I believe I'm seeing Gray Eagle by my third eye. I see him with one feather in his headdress, also another feather hanging downward next to his ear. Can you confirm?
I'm not going to say that you're not seeing him, but no. He actually, I'll put you out of your misery here. He wears two feathers down. So certainly not one feather up, and certainly but I mean, good for you, because you are seeing something, you are sensing something, and just stay open and stay aware. Did he have a question, this young man?
No, he just wanted to see if that was accurate.
Oh, okay, all right. So no, when we start to see things, when we start to become aware, when we start to use that sensitivity that we have, it's we don't always get it right anyway, but the idea of, again, I'm going to mention this, raising your level of consciousness to that point where you can become much more aware, much more knowing, much more knowledgeable. You're reaching out, and that can only be a good thing. So Carolyn.
All right.
All right then.
Lori asks.
Good morning, Lori.
Shortly after my father-in-law's funeral, I came into the kitchen and noticed what I thought was my spouse initially, coming partway down the hallway, stopped, seemed confused, and then turned back down. Thinking my spouse had awoken, I started down the hallway, talking to him, only to find him asleep. It didn't look like anyone else that I knew. We have his father's ashes here. They do their best to clean the crematorium. I know that the spirit and the soul are long gone before this process. Could this be the spirit of someone who was at the funeral home, or a mix in the ashes? And they haven't seen him since then.
Didn't they wear striped pajamas or something, and a husband or a spouse doesn't wear striped pajamas? Yes. Was that in there as well? Because we read that one this morning. And I have no idea who it could be. It's most likely someone in your family. It could very likely be someone connected to your, is it father-in-law who died, who passed? It could be someone connected to that person who's just passed. It's extremely doubtful, and in fact very unlikely. That I know people think, it's especially, I know that recipients of organs, hearts, lungs, livers, that sort of thing, I know that there are all sorts of weird tales about the energy of the person who once had the heart or the lungs, the donor is somehow could be attached to that organ, and that's not so either. It won't happen. The dregs in the ashes, well, of course, they're going to be a mix of you can't help it. The crematorium can do nothing about it. You're going to get all sorts of ashes from dregs from other people, as well as the person who has died, your person who has died. But it won't affect anything at all. It won't affect the energy. My guess is that whoever was walking down the hallway was someone connected with your family or your spouse's family. Whoever the person is who passed, I would say that that person is connected to them. And just, the next time, if you see the next time, don't be afraid to say, hi, who are you? That nosiness, that inquisitiveness is what makes me as good at what I do as I am. How can you see someone and not say hi? So try, all of you out there, don't be afraid to ask the question. Al.
We have Annie here.
Good morning, Annie.
Annie says and asks, hi, Rosemary, my partner passed away last year, and we only found his body 36 hours later. It breaks my heart that he died alone. What happens between the time they pass alone until we find them?
Well, if I can just, Annie, put your mind at rest a little bit, because in my experience, no one of us passes alone. In my experience, which is quite, I've had a lot of experience with this stuff, our angels will come for us, and they will come, they reach out to us, we reach out to them, and they guide us and they steer us, and they refer to it as taking us home, home to God, home to the light, home to that beautiful, special place. So once the spirit has left the body, once that cord is broken, the body then, I'm sorry for this for you, because it must be awful to think that somebody's been lying there for 36 hours. But actually, it was only the body, it was only the physical thing that was lying there, because the rest of him, the most important part of him, the spirit of him, the soul of him, everything that is him, is being taken care of, is being nurtured, is being taken home to God. And as I'm saying this to you, Grey Eagle puts his hand on my shoulder, which means whenever he does that, he means he has something to say about this as well. So Annie from Grey Eagle, I am to tell you, don't worry, he's safe, he's well, and he sees you. Carolyn.
We have a question from Nettie.
Good morning, Nettie.
In Hawaii. I was just curious, is there a reason that Grey Eagle is to the right of you?
Well, it just seems right that he is, doesn't it? Maybe that's my, I'm right-handed. I tend, if I'm listening, I tend to sort of, cop this side rather than, we all have our thing, don't we? And maybe this is the way I see him more and I hear him more. It's just a natural thing for me, and I don't think it's got anything to do with where he prefers to stay. He's laughing at me, and he's also tickling my hair as I'm talking to you. So he thinks that's a cute question, actually, Nettie. So no, there is no reason other than it's because he's tickling my hair. Is because I can probably hear him better with this side than this side. So, Al, a question?
That was a great question, right?
It was a question.
Armelia asks.
Amelia, good morning.
Yes. Is it true when you are born you pick your parents and the conditions you live in? And why is this so, if it is true?
It's half true, sort of true. My experience, again, and having spoken to many people in the spirit world, and also having Grey Eagle by my side to help me with this, what happens is that when we are deciding that we want to come back, or to come here to this earth plane, and not necessarily to come back, this might be our first time, but when we're deciding where we need to go, we're talking about, the growth of the soul. We're talking about what we want and how we want to grow. And we talk to other people about, we talk to our mentors. We talk to those people who know us better than we know ourselves. We talk about, the kinds of things that we need in our lives, so that we can learn, we can grow, we can experience and expand our soul and expand the knowledge that our soul has. We, you know, the point is to grow, and the point is for, you know, for us to experience this life and have this great, incredible and enlightening experience. And so once we've decided, we decide with the help of other people, once we decide what it is that we want and how we want to expand that growth, then there are also those conversations about, you know, what environment would best suit our growth. It's a little bit like, you know, going back to, you know, cooking for a minute. If you put a loaf of bread in a cold oven, you know, you're not going to get good bread. But if you put it in the right environment prior to it rising, and then if you put it into the right temperature of oven, you're going to get the best possible thing. So it's a question of environment and where would we best be suited, what environment would be best suited for us. And also remember that not only is it about us coming here to this earth, it's about those who are already here, who need certain things, they need certain situations. And so sometimes, you know, if we're that soul waiting to come here, and there is a soul already here who might need something that we can give, then, you know, then it's a perfect match. It's a good marriage. Sometimes we think, you know, well, especially if you look at people who are suffering, people who are starving, people who are in lousy environments. Well, you know, what is that about? We look at people in wheelchairs. We look at kids who are born severely deformed. What is that about? Well, it's about learning and it's about growth. And some of us, believe it or not, choose to come into the most difficult environments because sometimes that is the way that we can grow the best, that we can learn the best. And that is the way that we are tested the most, and our resolve and our strength and our power and our energy is tested the most. So we choose how much we want to grow. We choose how difficult we want it to be. And then with the help of those others in the spirit world who know much more than we, and who know what's going on this earth plane, and who can see those people who would best be our partners in this life, we can definitely, you know, then sort of jointly we make those decisions. I hope that's clear. Did that sound clear, Al? Does that make sense to you?
It does, yes.
Okay, all right. Carolyn.
Jamie asks, I would like some direction because I've been getting loads of modalities to connect to spirit, but which do I choose? Which is best for me?
Good morning, Jamie. I mean, what do you mean by modalities? You mean different what? What does that mean, Al? Can you explain this to me? You're the brains of this group.
I don't know if that's true, but I read it too, and I wasn't sure.
I'm not sure what you mean, Jamie. If you could be a bit clearer, we'll come back to your question.
I mean, is it about clairvoyance, like different, like hearing things better?
Yeah. Hold on, Al. Yeah.
I'm able to connect via auto writing, light work, crystal therapy, tarot, but I want to hone in on one specific thing or a couple, not to just be mediocre.
Well, I like your thinking, Jamie, that's for sure. You know, there is a saying, and I've always remembered this from the beginnings of my, you know, doing this work. Do you want to be a jack of all trades, which it sounds a little bit like what's going on with you, you know, or would you like to be that, you know, are you going to be the carpenter, or are you going to just be a woodworker who tackles anything? Or, you know, do you want to hone into that one thing that is yours specifically? And it sounds to me as if that's what you're looking for. All right, this is what I'm going to tell you, which will help you. I'm not going to choose for you because that would not be right. But what I'm going to suggest you do is put all those tools to the side. They've all been valuable in their own way. They've brought you to this place. So don't dismiss any of them. But for now, just put them aside and sit quietly every day until you get this right, for 10 minutes every day, and have a little meditation and speak to your soul. Learn to connect with your soul. Learn to listen to the heartbeat of your soul and allow the heartbeat of your soul to guide you and to steer you in that one thing that you can do as an expert. So do you want to be a jack of all trades, or would you like to be an expert in that one thing? I know that when I first began, I understand where you're coming from, Jamie, because when I first began, people come to me, even now, we get emails, recounting, can you explain this dream, or can you do that, or this or the other? No, I can't, because even though I might be able to a little bit, I am psychic after all. I would prefer just to concentrate on my mediumship. Having said that, I will teach my students about the pendulum. I'll teach them about crystals. I teach them about, how to use their sense and sensitivities. We have all of these tools, which if used, dowsing is another thing. I mean, dowsing is amazing, a little bit like the pendulum. It's amazing. It can produce incredible results. And all of these things are greatest tools to enhance that one thing that is special about you. So I'm not saying discard them all. I'm saying just put them to one side until you figure out where you want to be. Do you want to be a dowser? Do you want to work with crystals? What do you want to do? Or do you want to be all over the place and try to please everybody? Because you're not going to be able to do that. When you try to please everybody, the thing that happens is you please nobody, not even yourself. I always say to people, when you're trying to please this person on this side of you, this person isn't pleased. And when you try to please this person isn't pleased. So the only way you can make sure that you please someone is to please yourself. Al, let's have a question.
Paul asks,
good morning, Paul.
What is a miracle, and do you believe in miracles?
Yes, yes. I believe that miracles happen every day. I'm a firm believer in miracles of every kind. I think there are small miracles. I think that when a baby smiles at you, it's a miracle. When a child reaches for your hand, it's a miracle. I think that giving love and giving affection and the joining of two people coming together, even if it's a momentary thing, is a miracle. Of course, then you get the bigger miracles. We had a patient, I'm thinking, when we first opened our first healing center many years ago, a woman came to us. Her husband was disgusted that she was coming and thought she was crazy and said so. And she thought she was a bit crazy, but her hand had been paralyzed for several years and nobody knew the reason why, but she literally could not uncurl her fingers. I mean, she just had this fist. And for years and years and years, she'd been to doctors, she'd been everywhere. She'd done all the physical therapy, she'd done everything possible. And she was desperate. That's where people often come to us, they're desperate. They've tried everything else and we're a last resort very often, which is unfortunate, but there we are. And she came to us and she was desperate. And I remember we took her into the healing room and I held her hands and we gave her healing. And when we gave her healing for 10 minutes, when she came to after her healing, she sort of blinked. She said, wow, I feel so relaxed. I feel so great. I feel wonderful. And she went to get up and her hands were fine. Now that's maybe what you consider a miracle, healing someone, creating, getting rid of tumors and so on. We've done all of that. I could recount stories all day about how that happens. Sometimes we create the miracle of taking away the tumor so that the person does not have to have a breast removed, which happened to me in New Hampshire. Actually, I should give the credit to my puppy Cachorro because he was there helping. Or you can say that we create the miracle of helping someone who is very sick, and we all know that they're going to pass, helping them to come to some kind of peace and acceptance and understanding of what is happening to them. That is a miracle, when you see someone who is afraid of death and dying, and now all of a sudden they are not. That's a miracle. It's a miracle every time I get in my car and I drive to a busy car park, and I say to Greg, can you find me a parking spot? And he does, always, because I ask nicely. That's a little miracle. And then there are the bigger miracles, which of course I believe in. But miracles happen to us every single day. We just have to keep our eyes open and watch for them. And always remember to say thank you. Do you want to comment on that, Al?
Just that, like you said, sometimes little tiny signs. That could be a butterfly flying around your head on a day that is special, or like you said, a parking spot there for you. Those are every bit of miracle as the big ones are, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Carolyn.
Manna Delight says
Who?
Manna Delight.
Manna Delight
Says to tell you that your Rose Come Pollo video.
Yeah, I'm
sounds
sorry.
Wonderful.
We said it wrong. We said it's pollo, and I said polo because it's spelled P-O-L-L-A. Typical Western, faux pas here, but it is arroz con pollo. And Carolyn's husband really slapped us on the wrist for getting it wrong. But I'm sorry, what was the...
But she said it looks wonderful, and she's going to make it soon and let you know how it comes out.
Well, it should come out beautifully if you follow the recipe. But also, I always say to people, follow my recipes, try it once my way, and then if you feel you can improve on it, or because everybody's taste is different, have a go at putting an extra this, that, or the other in it. I always say try it first, my way, and then if you think you can improve on it, go for it. That's what cookery is about. That's what going in the kitchen is about, experimenting and trying new and different things.
She's also asking if she can get a personal message from Grey Eagle.
Well, I'm tempted to say, yes, stay in the kitchen. What's her name again? Manna
Delight.
Manna Delight. Well, you've had a personal message from me about your chicken. I'm asking Grey Eagle. Yeah, actually, you can have a little message from him. Don't blame me if you are more confused than when you started here. Apparently, he's talking about your eyes. I've no idea why, but he's talking about your eyes, and he's talking about you being able to see beyond, to know people, and to assess a person's character. You need to use it more, and then you wouldn't have gotten yourself into so much trouble in the past. Now I want you to reply to me and tell me if you understand that message, because I don't understand any of it, but I'm hoping you do. Greg was laughing, so I know that you should understand that message clearly. Al, let's have another question.
A comment first. We have Annie, who lost her partner. She said, Annie, who lost her partner. We mentioned her before. She says, thank you, Rosemary. I needed that today. And then we have Brother Nate has a question.
Good morning, Brother Nate.
He says,
I cannot eat what you said. Lovely. Excuse me, that was nice. Thank you for sending that lovely recipe. Oh my gosh, so much sugar in there. So thank you for sending it. I'm not going to try it, but I've got a friend who can try it. So okay, we'll let you know. What's the question from Brother?
Okay, so it's a very different question, but have you ever had a consultation with a living person who has contact with any extraterrestrial aliens rather than Earth-born people?
Yes, I have actually. I've spoken with quite a few people who have had those extraterrestrial experiences. I don't believe. I don't not believe. I'm very open-minded about the whole thing. I think that, we know that there are more things on heaven and earth than we can possibly see or understand. And I I do find it very difficult to believe that this is the only planet in these vast universes that are out there. I find it very difficult to believe that this is the only planet that has life form on it. And I think that in the future, I probably won't live to see it. But I think in the future, I think that, we will encounter other life forms, maybe even similar to ourselves. When you say extraterrestrial, people have all these, weird and wonderful imaginations that go into the big like centipedes and the big monsters and ugly stuff going on. And I'm not sure I'm going to buy into that stuff at all. But I don't think it's improbable that there are other life forms out there, and I don't think it's improbable that we have had visits, or from time to time. I mean, look at us. We visit other planets. Why not other people visit our planet? So I've not ever had anything said to me or shown to me that makes me feel absolutely yes. I believe that, but I've never had anyone show me in a concrete way that there isn't. So I'm sitting on the fence. It was a bit like I didn't, people would ask me about angels years and years ago, and having never seen one and never experienced an angel, I would say exactly the same as I've just said now, until that moment when I had my own experiences, and now I can tell you absolutely. Not only do I believe in angels, they come in many forms, they come in many shapes and sizes. They're incredible, incredible beings, and they fascinate me. So, Carolyn.
All right, Nicole asks.
Good morning, Nicole.
A few months ago, I had an anxiety attack before I went to bed. I've never had one before, and the next day I heard my aunt passed at the same time of my attack. Do you think my body was trying to tell me?
Yes, I do. I don't think it was your body necessarily that was trying to tell you. I think it was your, that sixth sense that we all have. And obviously it was something new to you. You're experiencing something new, which often, when our sixth sense does kick in, it often comes with that breathlessness, that we know something's happening and we start to panic because we don't know what it is. But I would definitely say that the two were absolutely connected. And I think that's wow, good for you. That's wonderful. Next question.
Mary asks,
good morning, Mary.
I've been diagnosed with borderline personality and a few other mental disorders. I do have a therapist, but find watching this YouTube live is healing. Do you see me getting employed in the near future?
Do I see what?
Me getting employed in the near future.
Employed. I'm asking Grey Eagle, and yes, he has his hand on my shoulder here. I'm very pleased to hear that you're talking to someone, that you're in therapy, and that you're recognizing what is going on with you. I'm sorry, what is this person's name? Mary. Mary, I'm very pleased to see that you're addressing this, and that you're trying to do something about this, that you have a therapist, and that you're paying attention. And I think that part of your situation, according to what Grey Eagle tells me, is we just talked about someone who having panic attacks in some small way. I think that when we suffer with this sort of this personality, this thing that happens to us, it sort of takes away our self-worth, it takes away our self-confidence. But talking to a therapist will build up that self-confidence, I'm pretty sure. So stick with it. Stick with that. Always find someone that you can talk to. Always find someone that you can express your feelings with. And I would say that you asked if you can be employed. This might sound very weird to you, but I think you would be absolutely fantastic around animals. You know, something to do with connecting with these creatures who can give you healing at the same time as you being able to give them healing. So why don't you start, if your therapist agrees, and if it's not too soon, so do this carefully, why don't you consider going and volunteering at the local RSPCA or connecting with, you know, an animal shelter of some kind, and see how that works out for you. Let me know. I'm interested. Let me know. And if I can help you in any way, just email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com. That goes for anybody out there. That
Yes,
you're done, are you? I'm done. Al.
We have a couple
Good.
Paul says,
I love the comments. Keep them coming.
Paul says, that's amazing. Rosemary Altea's Book of Miracles, please. They want you to do a book of your miracles.
Oh, we can do that. That would be after my book of how do we, well, great, yes. The Grey Eagle book is coming next. The cookbook is first, and the Grey Eagle book is coming next. And then maybe even at the same time, I'm going to be working on a children's book. When I say a children's book, I mean a book for adults who have children who are experiencing all sorts of things. They don't understand them. How do parents and grandparents help their children? I mean, I'm sort of the expert in that area in some ways, because I have a grandson and he's always asking me about ghosts and heaven and stuff like that. So how do we answer our children, especially when they have their insights, and especially when they can see and they know certain things? What do we as parents and grandparents say to them, and how to help them? Anyway, moving along. Thanks, Paul, for that. Yes. Any other comments then?
Yes. So Mana from before, she says, yes, I am very gifted in reading energy of others, and still have had many lessons in discernment. I believe his message is to trust what I see and not allow my mind to confuse me.
That's exactly
I also receive your message, Rosemary, to stay in the kitchen. It is my niche and my favorite place to be. Thank you so much.
It's one of my favorite places to be too. And what makes it my more favorite and my most favorite place is when I'm in the kitchen with my grandson and my daughter, and that makes it the best place to be. So I'm glad you understood the message, darling. I thought you would. And Grey Eagle is smiling at you, and so there you are. You have it straight from, you know, him to you. Carolyn.
Denise asks, how best can I help a dear friend that was just diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer? I'm feeling lost and helpless.
Okay. Hold her hand and listen. That's what you do. Go as often as you can to doctor's appointments. Always listen. Don't sit there saying, well, I knew somebody who did this or that or the other. Listen, see what this friend, I don't know if it's a girlfriend or boyfriend here, but don't think that you know best. Listen to what the patient wants, first of all, and how does the patient want to react. Do they want help, or are they just happy to just let this thing take its course? If they want help, involve yourself. Say to this person, I can come with you if you like, if you go to doctor's appointments, or I can be the support that you need. Gather other friends around. Just remember, although this is a very, very difficult situation, and people do go down that road of, oh gosh, she's dying. People come out of stage 4 cancer a lot. It's not the death sentence that it used to be. And there are lots of things that you can do. Even if you don't cure the cancer fully, you can still make sure that this person has the best time with whatever time they have left. That includes all of us, because none of us know when the end is coming. I know people who have had cancer I knew a guy who had cancer for 25 years. He was told by his doctor he'd got 6 months to live, and he said, well, I'm too busy to die. 25 years later, he still had the cancer, but he was, you know, you hear of these things. We talked about miracles earlier on. You hear of these things. There are miracles all the time, anywhere and everywhere. So be very careful. There's a fine line between keeping people hopeful and giving false hope. So, you know, and another thing I think you could do is certainly give her one of my books. The Eagle and the Rose is the one that I would suggest that you give to her, you know, and share these shows with her, share these programs with her. You know, with Al and I, we're doing, you know, we talked to Al's sister 2 or 3 weeks ago who has cancer, and right, Al?
Yeah, she actually had stage 4 Hodgkin's when she was 15. It was stage 4.
Right. And how old is she now?
50.
50. So, you know, so it's not the end. So get her to, you know, we try to do our shows, try to be positive, you know, always looking to the positive. Even while we embrace some things that we cannot change, that we cannot do anything about, certainly you can always do something in any situation. So be a friend to her. Get her to watch these videos if you feel that they're helpful. The Eagle and the Rose is one of those great books that I recommend anyone to read anyway, but it's a great book, especially, you know, if you're in a situation whereby, you know, you sort of are open, or you're about to be open to, you know, that stuff up there. I say up there because it's not really up there, is it? It's all around us. And email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. And if there's anything else that I can do, if you'd like to put her on our healing list, if there's anything else you can do, let us know where you live. I might, you know, I don't know even where in the world you might live. We might know someone who can help. And if we don't, we could certainly guide you in that way. So, you know, Mary, don't despair. All is not lost. And you can do this. You can be the friend. You can be that friend. Al.
Denise did comment, Rosemary, your smile is soothing me today. Thank you. And we have...
Just to let Denise know, you can have my smile anytime. I'll share it with anybody. Yes, sorry, Al. Go ahead.
So Annie, who again lost her partner, Rosemary, can you please tell me if my partner still cares for me in the other world?
Well, I think you're asking the question you already know the answer to, Annie. Is there really a doubt? I don't think so. I think you're just feeling that you need a little reassurance. So I'll give it to you. Of course he does. Of course. Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. There. Next question now for you, because that was really a short question. Next question.
We have a couple comments. We have Sharon, who is jealous of Carolyn because she gets to enjoy all those good recipes Rosemary cooks.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Sharon says she's jealous of Carolyn because she gets to enjoy those recipes that she cooks.
Yeah, I gave her pork with apricots for lunch yesterday. Was it good? And we just, did I mention this earlier? We've just changed the cooking channel. We've made it a new, what did we make it? A new page or something? What is it called?
You have your own.
We have sort of separate to all of these. We're getting so many shows on here. We're getting a bit clogged up. So we thought we'd make a special page just for the kitchen, the cooking, which we're going to make more and more videos of that. And you'll find that if you search, don't do it now because we have to just change it because we discovered that Rosemary's Kitchen, somebody else also has that name. So we're going to put Rosemary Altea's Kitchen. That's me. And so if you wait until a little bit later on today, search Rosemary's Kitchen. It'll come up right next to this channel. That you'll be able to find me on YouTube.
And the actual link is all over your Facebook page. So if they just want to go to your Facebook page.
Go to the Facebook page. That'll link you right there. It's all over it, apparently. Whatever that might mean. It's all over the Facebook page. Yes, Al, sorry, go ahead.
Lori comments, exactly, Rosemary. I'm living proof that miracles happen. And then we have a question from Aparahita, I believe it's pronounced Aparahita, and they ask, how can one redeem oneself from black magic?
How can one redeem oneself? Is that redeem oneself? Is that what we said?
Correct. Redeem oneself from black magic.
Well, I am interested in this question. This is a very interesting question. It doesn't happen to many people, but there are people who get themselves into fixes through not necessarily any fault of their own. They sort of start investigating all sorts of things, and it leads them down a path which is a little bit dark. Or I think I've mentioned this before. I had an experience in a nightclub years and years and years and years and years ago where I felt, rather than saw at first, I felt this energy, this dark, dark energy, which seemed to surround me. And I felt myself being pulled. And I finally was, through the nightclub, it was busy. There were lots of people everywhere. But finally, I was able to glimpse where this was coming from. And there was a guy who had decided that he was going to use his energy and use his power to draw me in. And it was such a scary thing and such a powerful thing.
If you don't mind, they interrupted and said, no, it was a spell cast on me by evil relatives. That's the situation.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, let me just finish this then first, which is because if you like, you could say that this guy in the nightclub was drawing me in or putting a spell on me and so on, which was drawing me in. I also had 2 women come to me again a few years ago. This woman's son's wife had gone to see somebody who did black magic and had a spell put on them. I actually had the mother-in-law of the woman my husband ran off with, very complicated, who for some reason or another didn't like me. And why? Because I didn't even know her, but she also went somewhere and had a spell put on me. I got the police on that one. But there are some crazy people about. All right, so this is what you need to do, because the mind is a strange thing. If you think that someone has control over you, you buy into that. The power of suggestion is an extremely powerful thing. So you say a prayer of protection every single day. You look to the light every single day, even if it's only for a moment or two. You ask for God's help, for his light to shine on you. You also contact someone like me, and we will put your name down on a special little list of people who suffer this way, and we shall get rid of that negative energy for you. If you buy into it, you only encourage it. But if you turn your back on it and laugh and say, do your worst because I'm protected, I'm going to be guided, and I'm not going to allow your negative influence to destroy me or to hurt me or to harm me. You have to be very positive about this. It's all about your attitude. If you buy into it, as your attitude is to, oh God, this is happening to me, and look, blah, blah, you're buying into it, it'll work. Don't buy into it. Nobody can hurt you. Nobody can get in there. There is no evil that can get in unless you allow it to. Remember the analogy that I've used before. You have a room that is a dark room, and you have a room that is filled with light, and these 2 rooms join. When you open the door in the middle, in the wall that separates these 2 rooms, dark does not infuse light. Light infuses dark. Light is the stronger and the brighter. Email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, if you need any more help with that. Thank you for that, Carolyn. Do you have another question?
Jan and Bob, they're saying hello. She's finally figured out how to do a live chat. And it's their 37th wedding anniversary today.
Oh, and you're in Florida, and you're going to come and pick me up, aren't you, in a minute for lunch?
I'm not sure if they're in Florida.
Where are you both?
But they've been watching the Everything is Attitude, and they love it, and they're sending me their love.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on that show, by the way, both of you. And happy, 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 happy 37th anniversary. You deserve all the happiness just for everyone out there who's wondering who are Jan and Bob, the best people, lovely couple, came to me with lots of different issues, and I think I was able to help you. I hope it was, and we then sort of have become closer. And they've taken me out for lunch a few times, and I'm waiting. When are you coming again? They've had all sorts of issues and so on, but look at this perfect, brilliant attitude. Bless you, darlings. And Al, I think we have time for one more question.
We have Rosie.
Who?
Rosie Puppy Love. Rosie Puppy Love, which is odd because you had a Rosie too, right?
I don't know, Rosie. We're going to talk about Rosie tomorrow on the 6 o'clock. Everything is attitude. 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. We're going to talk about pets. Anyway, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Yes.
So she asked, do our loved ones who have passed on see what we make when we make mistakes, and do they feel disappointment? She also says you are wonderful, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, Rosie, thank you. Yes, they do. Of course, they see us. They see our mistakes. Sometimes of course, they can see further than we can now. So sometimes they can see that the mistakes are not lasting ones. And, you know, we are human after all. So we all make mistakes, don't we? And we all go down that road. And are they disappointed sometimes? Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're disappointed in themselves because they didn't quite get it right for us who are left behind. You know, they sometimes feel that they didn't listen enough, they didn't you know, sort of counsel enough, and so on and so forth. So of course there are disappointments, but they love us anyway, and we love them too, don't we? I'm going to talk about Everything is Attitude, 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. That's New York time, if anybody wants to know. 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. Everything is Attitude. Al and I, we are co-hosts on this show. We're looking for people to be on this show. We're looking for people to talk about attitudes. We're looking for people who maybe can use a little help and little guidance on that score. But tomorrow, Al and I, instead of having a guest on tomorrow, you've just got me and Al, which is great. We're going to be talking about pets, and I've just mentioned pets. My puppy Kachora has just climbed up on the sofa here with us today. We're going to be talking about, you know, the reasons why they can sometimes come into our lives, what their purpose often is. We're going to be talking about, you know, quite a lot about, you know, because I've had lots of puppies, and you know, there have been times when we've had to make the decision to put our animals down, you know, to put them to sleep, and sometimes people don't always make the right decision, or they prolong it for one reason or another. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking the hows and whys of that. We're also going to be touching a little bit on because this is going to be a bigger subject for another time, but we're going to be touching a little bit on the subject of, you know, what happens when we've got someone on life support, and who makes the decision, and have we made the right decision, and how can we make sure that we've made the right decision, both for our loved ones, our human loved ones, and for our animal loved ones. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. If you want to join in, 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time, you can join in. It's live, Al, right? But I mean, people can write in comments and so on, just like they can with with this show, right?
Yes, so it's Facebook Live, and they can write comments in that Facebook live stream. Yep.
And if you want to know more about that, go to info@everythingisattitude.com. I'm surprised you again now, because I now know that email. Or if you want to know more, of course, you can always email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. All right, I think time is up. If you want to go to my kitchen channel, you need to subscribe, because we're going to have all sorts of, what is it you put on there, VIP things. If you subscribe, you're going to be entitled to get other things and do other things, and so on and so forth. So subscribe. And to this show also, please subscribe, and encourage your friends and your family and whoever you know out there to subscribe, because the more subscribers we get on YouTube, the more we can do. don't know how it works quite. All right, so first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Al, for being with us from Colorado. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us. I'm going to say thank you to Cachorro, even though he's not been much part of the show. Particularly and especially, I'd like to say thank you to my spirit guide, Great Eagle. And of course, it goes without saying, thank you to all of you who are watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. And until I see you again next week, or maybe even tomorrow, until I see you again, please, 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 please have a very, very, very blessed day. And now I've got to find that little arrow because I forgot all about it. The thing is that my earrings are glittering. I've got it. My earrings are glittering. It's hard to see that little arrow. Again, have a very, very, very blessed day.